Hi, Mark here from the Tangibound Podcast Network and host of the flagship show, the Tangibound Podcast. Did you know that we over at Tangibound are always looking for amazing podcasts to promote? And did you also know that we are also proud nerds and geeks of everything from movies, music, gaming, TV shows, and comic books to wrestling, MMA, soccer, and football? Whatever you can nerd or geek out about, we've got it. And if you're interested, we can help you find it. And if you're a show looking for a place to call home, we've got you covered. Side effects may include upset stomach, dizziness, tumors, shakes, and in some rare cases, death from excessive laughter. Though to be fair, it's only sometimes. Other side effects may include diarrhea, gallstones, heart palpitations, and strong desire for cookies on the dark side. Talk to your doctor and visit TangiboundNetwork.com and see if Tangibound Network is right for you.
We're not doctors, therapists, trained professionals of any kind, so if you feel you do need help, please reach out and get the help you need. We have a whole list of things on our files page over on Facebook at facebook.com/crazylifepodcast, and or just search on the internet for the suicide prevention hotline number, or go to NAMI.org or whatever resource you can find. But just please reach out for help if you need it. If you feel as though you're going to harm yourself or others, definitely reach out. And try not to be alone. Also, if you feel that way and you realize that you're writing a note or making plans of how you would do, like harm yourself or others, definitely reach out. That's a huge red flag. And lastly, please do not replace the idea of therapy with listening to this show. Again, if you need help, please reach out and get the help that you need, or contact us. We can try to help you find the help that you need.
Life sucks to the last drop. Are you gonna blow your head off? Take good aim and don't forget to duck. Life sucks every Monday and all the way to Sunday. Wouldn't have it any other way. I don't care how you're doing, what's up or how's it hanging. I'd like to buy this world one last drink. Life sucks all of the time, stick it up your sunshine, and then you'll see the clouds every day. Then you'll see the clouds every day. Then you'll see the clouds every day.
Welcome to the Crazy Life, everyone. My name's Jen, and I am your hostess for the evening. And with me, as always, we have Brian and... no Henno tonight. He's out whooping it up with his work people. Can you believe that?
Oh, he's just been partying this weekend. They had that Pride event that his band played at, which looked like they had a ton of fun at. Which, if you follow Henno on Facebook or Instagram, he posted pictures of it, of him playing with his new sparkly purple bass or pink bass. I don't remember which color it is, but
it's Barbie pink.
Yeah. Either way, it's sparkly and glorious, and I appreciated his knee-high rainbow socks and whatever.
It looked like it was so much stinking fun.
Yeah.
And, anyone who says, because as we all know, Henno is sober, and if anyone proves more than a shadow of a doubt that you can have fun and you do not need alcohol, it's that man.
Right.
I mean, he has a absolute freaking blast, and he doesn't need a drop of it. So
right.
Don't ever use that as a crutch.
Right. Yeah, and I'm sure he'll catch us up on that next time. So
I'm sure. I can't wait.
But yeah, that, and had someone visiting this weekend, and then tonight they're going out to celebrate, I forgot what he says, GM
retirement.
Yeah. So it's like, boy, he's just living it up this weekend. Jeez.
He is. He's going to have a social hangover.
I am curious to hear about that, if he does or not, because I would think so to some extent. But man,
I know I would.
It had to have felt great for him to get up in front of all those people and play again.
For sure.
I know they've played a couple of gigs, but it's still the idea that, just people kind of being able to let loose and have a little fun again like that. It's, oh man, that had to feel awesome. So yeah, like I said, I can't wait to hear more about it.
Do you know what I'm loving more than anything else right now? Is seeing people smile.
Yes.
Because with everyone wearing masks, you just don't see each other's faces and stuff, and you just don't see people smiling. And now that we don't have to wear the masks, it's just so nice.
Right. Do you, did I talk, I know I talked about this on Salty Language, but I don't remember if I talked about it on here. How my brain was basically playing a game where I was trying to figure out what people look like under the mask.
Right, sure.
And now I'm seeing some of those people that I hadn't seen before, we were all wearing masks, and now I'm seeing them, and it's funny how, I don't know if it's because of like the art, the art school stuff where my brain kind of, fills in blanks or whatever, but I've been pretty decently accurate with what I thought versus what the people actually look like, which is kind of funny, a little bit.
That's awesome.
There have been a couple of surprises to where, they haven't looked anything like I thought they might, but it was just kind of a fun thing. I was telling Tony about it, I know for sure, because I was like, it's kind of my new people watching at the time was trying to, like what I thought they looked like underneath.
One gentleman that I come across on a regular basis, and I always would see him with his mask on. So, and we talked quite a bit, and very nice man, and just chit chats and whatnots here and there. And then one day he didn't have his mask on. He has the largest freaking lips I have ever seen.
Yeah.
I had no clue because I only seen him with his mask on.
Right,
so,
exactly.
And I'm trying not to stare because I'm like, those are some freaking huge shit lips.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
It is kind of funny. Like we've gone to this one restaurant a few times that's, around here. And, now seeing all the servers without their masks, is kind of weird, because of it. And, it's just been kind of a strange, like you said, it's nice though to see people smiling, even though you knew there were smiles under those masks, but you couldn't see them, like you could tell, because, a lot of people you can kind of see in their face when they're smiling a little bit, but it's still kind of nice to see it. Again, it still feels really weird. I went into the grocery store today and got to about halfway through the produce section and was like, oh no, cause it was like, oh, I don't have my mask on me. And then it clicked. It's like, I don't have to because I'm vaccinated, it's like, oh yeah.
I still will sometimes carry one on my wrist, like if I'm going to someone's house or
usually
anything like that.
Cause mine, I was wearing like those gaiters and I usually will, put it on to where it's around my neck. But since it's been so hot, I haven't wanted to wear it around my neck because I don't want to keep a bunch of heat right there, but I had it, I usually will take it with me. I just completely forgot about it. I just got out of the car and went into the store, and boy, I'll tell you, I don't know what's going on at the grocery store over here, but every time I go inside, there's no carts. Like today, the last 4 times I went in there are 0 carts available in the store. They're all out in the parking lot. So I went to, but on my way up, I was like, you know what? I'm going to just grab a cart. That way, 100% I know I got one. I walked in the store. There was 0 in there, and there was a woman who turned and was like, oh, and when I got inside, I saw the one woman who's I know she works up at the customer service desk, and I was like, hey, just so you know, I'm like, there are 0 carts in the store. And she goes, there's none? And I go, no. She's like, geez, we just sent somebody out there to get carts not that long ago. I think what it is because they're so busy, they've got all the baggers. Baggers are usually during their downtime go get carts. But they need them for bagging because they're so busy.
Well, and also everybody's shorthanded right now.
Yeah, that too, exactly. So,
you know, it's,
I was just, you know, I wasn't hateful or anything. I was just like, hey,
sure, just letting her know.
like, hey, I don't know if you know, but because it stinks. You know, if you see, you know, you see somebody who's having a hard time walking or something, they get up to the store and it's like, they're not going to want to go all the way back out. And, you know, if they ask an employee, they'll go get one for them or whatever. But it's like, some people, you know, won't ask. You know, there's just people who won't ask. And it's like, so, that's why I grabbed one, because I'm like, well, you know, like I said, either way, I know I'm covered this way.
Exactly.
And I'm glad I did, because there were 0 in there, and I would have had to go back out and get one. So,
I mean, it's really crazy right now. We talked about it a little bit last week, with the job market the way it is. Yeah, there's just so many job openings. Everybody's hiring, and nobody's willing to accept the jobs right now. And for whatever reasons, we'll leave politics out of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's just a super influx of all of these jobs in the market. And it was interesting because where I work, on the 14th of June, everyone was supposed to be back in the office.
Yeah.
Unless you worked something out with your manager. We had about 40% people in the office.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, interesting. And they pretty much decided they're not enforcing the working in the office, because pretty much if you have a job that you can do from home and you have a legitimate reason to do it from home, they're going to let you do it from home. Yeah. Because the job market is so bad right now for employers.
Yeah.
They know that employees can get jobs anywhere they want right now. So and a lot of them are work from home.
So they're afraid they'll quit, basically. So well, you know, it is an interesting time. And again, leaving any politics out of this, but it's hard to have this conversation, not have it feel a little political, but sure. It's interesting that the power dynamic is kind of right now has kind of shifted a little more toward the workers again. You know, like you're seeing people literally waiting for the right job or going, hey, my job sucked. Now is the time for the career change. Or like I was talking with somebody the other day and they were talking about a place around here paying $10 or so an hour. And I'm like, if I was looking for a job, I'm like, they aren't even on my radar. Hell, I was at Taco Bell yesterday. They're offering $14 an hour. There's places offering 13, 15, 16, you know, it's like, I'm not even looking at those low end places right now, because why would you? If you can maybe make 14, why would you go make 10? You know, unless it's something that, you know, it's like something you want to do or something. It's
a passion project or something like that.
But otherwise, it's like, I want as much as I can get if I'm going to just take a job, you know, so.
And that's only smart business.
Yeah. But it's tough. Like you said, everywhere you go is short right now. It doesn't seem to matter where, which is weird in a way, because those places didn't seem shorthanded until just recently. Like all through the pandemic, most of the fast food places didn't seem shorthanded. They all seemed, in the grocery stores at times when people were hoarding, seemed shorthanded more so. But it's like, other than that, it was like, yeah, they seemed pretty adequately staffed. And then all of a sudden, it seems like nobody's got any staff anymore. So people must have been leaving jobs and taking, you know, like if you're working at you know, Arby's, and right across the street here is Taco Bell. If you're working for $10 at Arby's and Taco Bell says, hey, we'll give you 14, I'm going across the street and getting a job. You know, like why would I, like I said, why would I work for 10? So, it's nuts. You know, and
it really is quite crazy. Just when you look at everything, I'm very happy with, you know, everything that I've got going on with my job, or else I'd be looking.
Yeah. Which is I've talked with a couple of people who are literally looking right now just because there might be more money out there. That's the only real reason. Is it's like, hey, I haven't got much as far as raises go. If some place is willing to pay me $5,000 or $10,000 more a year, I'm all ears at the moment, you know, because why wouldn't I? Right. You know, it's not often that it's a, you know, that
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, like you don't normally have that kind of power. So it's interesting.
Yeah. A friend of mine had 7 people working under him. He's a manager. And 3 of the 7 have taken other jobs in the last 2 weeks.
Wow.
So he pretty much had half of a team
Jeez.
turnover.
Wow.
So yeah.
I'm so glad I'm not a manager right now, because if I did, like, where I was working, it would have been the kind of job where people would leave for better pay.
Well,
so.
And he's in an IT. He's in the IT industry,
which should pay okay.
Working for, I
yeah.
think it's a healthcare company. We're doing IT for them, and the problem is so he's going through the interview process and stuff. But he was telling me, the problem is, I need people who have been like in the trenches, that have gone through and seen some crazy junk.
Yeah.
He's like, I really, because I have to hire 3 people.
Yeah.
He's like, they have to be solid heavy hitters.
Right.
I can't, maybe 1 to be kind of green, but the other 2 have to be really, really solid, so that I can keep all the projects and everything going on that I've got going on.
Which means you better be paying well, because if you're not, they're not even going to look at you. I think I mentioned it last week or the week before. My doctor's office, they're trying to fill a psychiatrist position.
Oh, wow.
And they've been trying for months, and I was told by my therapist that basically they've had very few people apply, which tells me they're not paying enough.
Pretty much.
Because again, if they were, I feel like somebody would take them up on it. But now the weird part of this is now, you always had that thing where a lot of times people like employers would go, hey, this person's been here 20 years. They're making too much money. We need to kind of try to get them to take a severance package and hire someone fresh out of college for a whole lot less money. But now, because of the job market, if people are coming out of college in those like IT and different areas like that, you may have to overpay people that are not qualified for it, which does kind of suck. But I don't feel bad for them at all because wages have been too low for too long. So nanny boo boo. No, but I'm glad to see, it is interesting just from the outside, just really watching it and seeing how things kind of need to be massaged, so that you don't have a bunch of people with no skills in positions you need skills in. That is a concern, of course. Like you were just saying, that guy's like, hey, I need people I know can do the work. I don't want to hire green people because I'll have to hold their hands the whole time, and I can't do that because, we got too much coming at us. So you need that veteran quarterback to steady the rookie quarterback till he's ready to play,
Exactly. So which, it's all just quite crazy right now, trying to work through it all. But, well, I mean, since I already started, I'll continue on. So, they announced the finalists of the competition, and unfortunately, I was not chosen.
Rigged. I said it's rigged.
I kind of had a good inkling that I hadn't been chosen because I really think that for something like this, they would have called for an interview along the way. It just seemed to make more sense to me that way.
Yeah.
You never know.
Never know.
But
yeah.
Either way, very lovely ladies were chosen, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
Their pictures are up, so if you would like to...
Yeah, no shade on the people that got chosen, but shade on the company maybe. No, I'm kidding.
But if you would like to check them out, that's Tord.com. They have there's 30 semifinalists, and you can vote every day on who your favorite is. So if you'd like to partake, there you go. Mm-hmm. A lot of very natural... very unique beauties. So it was really kind of cool to see who they chose. Like one woman didn't have any makeup on.
Oh, wow.
She submitted her pictures with just straight raw face. And I'm like, kudos to you.
It's one of the things I've been saying this last year that I dig is how many women are embracing, like, letting their hair go gray.
Mm-hmm.
Saying screw it with makeup. you know, saying I'm not going to wear high heels all the time. Like, literally all the things guys have gotten away with forever, you know?
Right.
Like, we don't put makeup on. We don't, you know, we don't have to worry about getting gray hair, you know, as much. You know, maybe in certain environments for job, you know, and stuff, because you want to appear young and whatever, you know, because it's been proven plenty of times, you know, that guys that look younger, you know, tend to do better when, you know, being promoted. But then again, it really makes less difference in men than it does women. You know, if women have gray hair, a lot of times they're passed over. So it's like, I no shade at anyone who also still colors their hair and wears makeup and all that, because I fully get it, you know.
Yeah, and some people just enjoy it that way.
Yeah, and that's cool too.
For no reason other than they like the way they look with it.
I just dig the way in a lot of ways that people are like, hey, I'm happy with this. I'm cool with this, and they're accepting themselves a little more. And it's like awesome. It's like, you know, for years when people are, you know, worrying and sweating, getting older, it's like, hey, look, I don't want to die, but, you know, I'm 42. I'll be 43 this year. I don't care. You know, it doesn't bother me other than the like, okay, I understand that I am moving toward, you know, the end. Yeah. But then again, you never know. You know, I could have keeled over at 24 and been done. You know, you just don't know when your time is. So, and that never changes really, unless you know, certain conditions or something. But you know, like, so I dig that, and I'm glad companies are finally coming around on it too. I wish they didn't feel that they need to be patted on the back so much for doing it. You know, like so many of them are like, look, we have big women in our ads now, or look, we have, you know, women with no filters. It's like, yeah, you should have all along. Like, you know, like you know, all these food places are like, we're taking all this garbage out of our food. And it's like, it shouldn't have been there. I'm not patting you on the back for it.
Well, it's really cool. The women are, you know, beautiful. Some have braids. One woman has short gray hair. You know, it's just,
that's cool.
It's neat to see the variety, and you could definitely see the point of view that the company is coming from. It was very clear what they were looking for. And, I think they did a really good job at representing the spectrum of what they wanted.
Yeah. Which is good, because that's probably more representative of their actual clientele.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
Like it stinks when, you know, you're buying a product from a place and it's like, how come no one like me is ever in the ads? And listen, I understand the, you know, fact that I'm a white male making that statement, but as a fat man, I'm generally underrepresented in a lot of things. Not in the way that people of color are, or older, women over like 20.
Comparison. You're just saying that you don't see a lot of the people that look like you in the ads either.
Right. So I'm glad to see that, you know, people can actually look. Also, you know, when you see somebody that's similar to you in an ad, if they're wearing something, it gives you a comparison. Like, oh, that might look good on me, versus, you know, if you're a person of color and all the women are white, you know, it's like, well, I don't know if that tone will look okay with my skin color or whatever. It's like, it's just, you know, so it's just smart anyway. I've never understood it. You know, it's just smart business. Like I've always said, there's a reason Disney does things the way they do things most of the time. And you can like or hate Disney all you want, but the fact of the matter is, at the end of the day, they want everybody's money. So they try to do the best they can to try to not alienate anyone so they can still get all the money.
The Princess Collection, if you go to the store and look at the Barbie Princess Collection, it has all the different princesses all lined up. It's like looking at a rainbow.
It is now, because they finally have... you know,
I mean, we're not talking like the old age princesses.
Those are all like a loaf of white bread for sure.
Yeah. But the new princesses, I mean, there's you know, everyone from a redheaded, I can never remember their names, so I apologize, but a redhead that is paler than pale, which is cool. And, you know, and there's African American, there's Pocahontas, I mean, they're all over the place, which is amazing. And that's what we should see, because our little girls boys need to grow up having that type of exposure to a variety of different people, and, you know, and loving that. How different we are, because it's kind of boring if we're all the same.
Well, and you should be able to find representation for yourself, especially when it comes to something like, you know, a toy kind of a thing.
Sure.
Dolls, it's like if, no matter what the property is, it was like, if all the characters are white and there's no like, oh wow, really? Like there's no, if you look at like Star Wars for a while, there was Princess Leia and there weren't many other female figures from her, now there's more, there's still more men than women, but it's, it's gotten a lot better than it was, so it was like, yeah, there's, people of very, all genders that like to play with Star Wars toys. Why wouldn't you, again, this is where Disney comes in because, not that George Lucas was doing it on purpose or anything, but it was still the idea that, Disney, of course, was like, even though they flubbed up with like Rey, when that movie came out and they had no action figures of Rey and everybody in like the video or the board game they put out, there was no Rey figurine. There was like 6 figurines and no Rey. And I'm like, what are you, stupid?
Wow.
She's the star of the movie. How do you not make more product of her? And you know what it is? It's the old thinking. The old thinking was in action figures, if there's a female, you put one in the case because this is their thinking, not mine. Little boys don't want to play with the girl figures. But it's like, hey, not just little boys play with the figures, and there are a lot of little boys who do want Princess Leia because she's a badass.
Right.
Or they want Rey because she's, awesome. So, it's like, don't, like you can't, how do you justify that, there's like 19 Jar Jar Binks figures and there was no Rey at first, like.
Crazy.
Like, come on.
So, on to my next project. So, I decided that I was going to, there's actually a site that's like care.com, but for pets, that basically you can go on there and people sign up to be sitters and people sign up to be, to be clients. And then they get matched together type of thing.
Yeah, I've heard of a couple of them. I can't remember the names of them, but I think one was like Rover or something like that. And there was another one, I can't remember, that were like the 2 biggest ones.
Exactly. So we use Rover for our dogs when we go on vacation and stuff. And I have a very wonderful sitter that has 2 dogs of her own. So my 2 dogs go to her house and they play and they just have a wonderful time. And I feel much better than them sitting in a cage or a kennel, even though they'd be treated very nicely at the cage and kennel, I'm sure.
Yeah.
It's just not the same as they can be cuddled up on a couch with a human.
Yeah.
So I thought about it and I'm like, I'm going to do this. So I filled out a profile and then they did a background check on me, of course, and, approved everything. And I had my first puppy play date yesterday and her name's Maya.
Was that they basically see what you're like around the animal? Okay. Which makes sense. They want to see your temperament and that you're not abusive or whatever, right?
Yeah. It is, so they can get to know me, so the dog can get to know me, and the dog can get to know my dogs, because Maya will be staying with us for a few days.
Yeah.
So her owner just wanted to, have a meet and greet, which is great. It sounds like he's probably going to come back next weekend and have another meet and greet because it went so well. And I am all for puppy play dates. So we have a big yard with a bunch of trees, and Maya likes to roll around. Now, keep in mind, Maya is she's a pit lab mix, and she's white with brown spots, so almost looks like a cow type marking.
Okay.
She goes over this tree, and she flops down on her back and starts rolling around like crazy, and we're like, oh no, what's she rolling in? She gets up, and she is tie-dyed pink and purple. All of her white is now pink and purple. She had found a mulberry tree. And she was so happy about it. And her tail's wagging and she's just tickled pink. Literally and figuratively.
Like a little kid when they discover like mud pies or something,
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Oh my gosh. So My husband looks at me. He's like, "All right, go get the soap." So this guy we're like, "Do you mind if we bathe your dog so that she doesn't have to get mulberry juice in your car?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "No, that's fine." So the three of us got the hose out and we gave her a quick bath in my backyard. The poor dog did not like the cold water.
Sure.
But
well, plus, I mean, she had just created art, and you're destroying it.
yeah, exactly.
She was a walking installation, and you guys just couldn't handle it. So
I know. Oh, it was really quite attractive and quite pretty.
Yeah.
So, I will say that, but
that actually, it's funny because that seems like a really good test.
Yeah.
To see how you guys handled that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, whether you like I said before, like, do you get mad? Do you, yell at the dog? You can't. It's just a dog being a dog,
Exactly. And he was really cool. Maya is not spayed. My two dogs, Molly and Otis, are spayed and neutered.
Mm.
My male was very interested in her.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't do anything, inappropriate.
Yeah.
But he wanted to dominate, and I could tell he kind of wanted to dominate a bit.
Mm-hmm.
So he used some language that we didn't approve of, so we had to correct him a few times because he was getting just a little aggressive. His tail was wagging, her tail was wagging, everybody was happy, but it was just a little more aggressive than I wanted to see him to be.
Mm-hmm.
So we had to do a few corrections there, but the owner was not nonplussed by the whole thing. Like, he completely get it. I mean, granted, he's got a pity too, so he understands their behaviors and the breed, and how they behave and stuff.
Yeah.
So he was not concerned at all because they would lay down together and hang out. So it wasn't like they were trying to hurt each other. They were just.
It reminds me of the South Park episode where all the girls get boobs. And the boys are like, I don't know why, but you're so much cooler now. Like, that's basically Otis to this dog. It's like, I don't know why, but there's something about you.
You're special. I don't know. So, it was pretty funny.
Yeah.
And then I just got messaged today for a house sitting, puppy sitting job. So I'm going over on Friday to meet their dogs and to, understand what they're looking for and what they would like, and hopefully end up doing that. So now, how this all came about.
Okay, that's what I was just going to ask. Okay.
is I've been wanting to get another dog, and we've talked about it and stuff, and it's not really financially and time-wise feasible.
Yeah.
So it's as much as I love animals and I would want to have another one, I just think it's not the right choice. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, well, instead of going that direction,
and it's also smart because a lot of people will go volunteer at like a shelter or something like that. And the problem with that is you end up bringing animals home.
Exactly. So this way I can choose my days. I have a calendar out there, so I can check mark if I want the weekend off. I just mark myself as unavailable.
Right.
Or I don't pick up jobs that week. Mm-hmm. Or weekend or whatever. I just have to make sure I'm doing a little planning ahead.
Sure.
I can't be as spontaneous as I would necessarily want to be at times. But yeah, it seems to be going swimmingly, and I'm getting paid for it. So I'm getting paid to play with other people's dogs.
Yeah.
It's kind of a cool thing.
Yeah.
Cool gig.
Yeah. Yeah, that seems all right.
So, yeah. It's definitely nothing that's going to, pay my bills.
Oh, no, yeah, but hopefully, if nothing, hopefully it scratches the itch that you need it to scratch, though. That by being around more dogs and stuff, that at least you get. And like I said, with less chance of the danger of, oh, but this one doesn't have a home.
Exactly.
Which is hard to resist, because we've all been there where they're looking at you and they reach through the cage like in the commercial on TV, and you're just like.
Cat.
Yeah, and you're just like, oh, geez. All right, fine, get in the car,
Exactly. So, yeah, so that's kind of fun. Something that I'm excited about and taking on. and see how that goes. What else? I knew there was a third thing that I was going to talk about. I feel like Winnie the Pooh. Ding, 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 ding. It's not coming to mind.
Right.
Oh, yes. So I did want to do a shout out, and I know, Brian, you'll probably talk a little bit about this as well, but I did want to make sure that I did a huge shout out to all the dads out there.
Oh, yeah.
We happen to be recording on Father's Day. So it is extra important to do a shout out to you guys. Somebody actually made a post on Instagram, I believe it was, that was honoring fathers. And he said, I made a comment, even though sometimes we're considered the second parent, we are still incredibly important, the role that we play and what we do.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, it's kind of sad, but it's kind of true.
Yeah.
But ultimately it is incredibly important, the role that dads play. And so thank you for being good dads out there and doing your jobs and stepping up to the plate, whether it's biological, whether it's through marriage, whether it's just you're mentoring the heck out of somebody that needs a good mentor.
I like
dads.
Jared, it's a podcasting friend of ours. He posted, and I've seen others post it too, but it was basically like, Happy Father's Day to all who've earned the title, basically, kind of a thing, and I kind of like, and that includes the single moms who filled the roles, the grandmothers and grandfathers and all that kind of stuff. Like I said, just like you were just getting at, it's like whoever has filled that role in someone's life, even if it is a mentor role, even if it's at a job mentoring somebody, there's elements of that in there, especially if somebody didn't have that growing up or they don't have that in their life at this point. Like me at 27, I lost my dad.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of life and knowledge that I never got to go through and talk with him about as I was experiencing. I never got to pool some of the knowledge of like actually being a real like adult with him, So there's been times where someone else has kind of filled that for me, and I'm thankful for that, and it's awesome, because it is, the whole, it takes a village, and it's just because you turn 18 doesn't mean that it, okay, you've learned everything there is to learn and all the knowledge is imparted on you, and get after them, champ. You've
officially got the download. Now go.
Yeah, exactly. Like
just dawned on me. I just did the math. 15 years.
Yeah, my dad, in October it'll be 15 years ago that he died. Actually, no, 16 years. He died in 2005. Years? Yep.
God,
so,
wow.
Yeah. And it's weird because I talk with people. One of my Instagram friends just lost her dad yesterday. And I was like, oh, the day before Father's Day. It's like, oh. But, although I guess on one side of it, the way I kind of look at it is like, for me, this is me, I'm not saying for anyone else, of course, but it's like, I almost think that would be better. Because for me, this day is a punch in the gut. But then I get another one in October. If they were like date back to back, it's like, okay, I'm going to have a terrible weekend. And then we're kind of done with it until birthday or Christmas or whatever else affects you, but not that it's ever, and no day is better than any other as far as it's not easy, but what stinks, and this is just a for me thing, but it's like my dad and I growing up, I think I've talked about it on here before. A lot of times we would, while we were out, we would get like those Hostess lemon pies, and we'd have one of those, and we used to drink Mountain Dew a lot. And so what I kind of did on Father's Day is I just kind of made it my thing. I don't even really always do this with anybody, but I do it myself. Is I'll get, although I don't know if Hostess still makes the lemon ones. I don't think they do. I think I've had to buy a different brand, but same idea there. But I go to the store today and I was like, oh, I'm going to get, a Mountain Dew and the pie. And I was like, oh, I could not, they had no lemon pies. And I was like, dang it, and it was, so it was, You know, I just got a different one. And I know in the scheme of things, it doesn't matter, but I've done this every year since he died, you know?
Yeah.
So it was kind of a streak breaker, but it was, like I said, it's just for me. It's not like it's that big of a deal, but it was just kind of my way of, like, I think, I don't remember, it was Heno I told, might have been on here, I don't even remember now, that it was like Father's Day and birthday, I try to celebrate more,
Mm-hmm.
you know, like have, you know, try to think of good memories and whatever. The anniversary of the day he died is one that's you know, it can go directly to a southern region that's really hot.
It's etched in my mind forever.
Yeah.
So.
You know, that will never be a good day for me. I mean, even trying to spin it with he was at peace and not hurt. It's just, nope, that's the day he's gone.
It was a shit day. I mean,
Yeah.
excuse the language, folks. Sorry.
I love how I just artfully danced around it and you just stepped right in it.
There is no other words. Nope. It's just, that is what it was.
It is.
And
absolutely.
For the newer listeners or listeners that didn't hear, but Brian and I were in a relationship for quite a long time, and during the time that his dad was sick, and we were both living with his parents to help take care of his dad and stuff. So so I was a very, you know, active participant in that part of life.
Yeah, that day will never not suck for me. Yeah, there's just no, you know, it's easier than it was, but it'll always suck. There's never a time where I'm going to look at October 8th on a calendar and not go, you know, like it's just always going to be there. So that's why the thing with the pie and the Mountain Dew was kind of a big deal to me, is that it was, you know, like this is a way of making a day that is a punch in the gut to me, because every Father's Day, you know, everybody's putting up pictures of their dads. And now it's weird though. This year I've noticed a ton of the ones up are similar to like mine, to where it's like, hey dad, miss you. And it's like, whoa, it's like, man, must be hitting that point where people are getting to that age that, you know, dads are
Well, we are. I mean, we're both 42, which makes our parents in their 60s and 70s. And sometimes 80s, depending upon when they've had us.
Yeah, because like my dad would be, 77 this year? Or 78? I can't remember what year he was born. It's like 77 or 78, I believe, he would be this year. So, you know, that's, you know. But the funny part is, in his family, that's still young. You know, like, oh yeah,
his family lives forever.
Yeah, like, well, my grandma's side. I don't know about my grandpa's side, because I know very, very little about them. But my grandma's side, like my grandma's youngest sibling is like 80 something. So yeah, it's, you know, he tells everyone, because for those who don't know, my grandma's 103.
Yeah,
and he tells everyone that he's her little brother. You know, her younger brother, because he is. He's the youngest, but he's still 80. He's still in his 80s. But yeah, you know, today was, you know, it's still melancholy, even trying to reframe it and whatever. It's still, like I said, you know, because I do see other people, and I hurt for the people who don't have a dad around. You know, whether it's by, you know, that they've died or their dad's just not involved in their life, it's, you know, that's still a loss. And I know it's not easy for any of us in that position to, you know, see it. It's not that I begrudge anyone having a dad, you know, of course, but it is just kind of an all day reminder that I don't anymore, you know, whether I want it to be or not. So, you know, whatever. Like I'll say on here what I usually say in my posts on social media, which is, you know, if your dad's still around, you know, and things are good between you and your dad, you know, if they're not, you know, if it's something that's kind of just, you know, bull sugar, maybe see if you can bury it, you know, because there'll be a point someday where you'll really wish you had. But tell your dad you love him, you know, give him a hug and whatever, and, you know, or just a phone call and let him know, you know, you still appreciate him and everything. Because like I posted on my Instagram today, it's like, trust me, because someday you'd be willing to give anything for that. You know, I'd give anything to be able to talk to my dad again, you know, even for 5 minutes, I just, to hear his voice again. Cause I honestly don't remember it. I'm losing the memory of his voice, and it's killing me, you know, cause it's not something I ever thought I would kind of lose, but it's been so long since I've heard it now. And there's no, as far as I know, there's no videotape or anything. My brother thought he had something from when my nephew was young, but I don't know if he's never looked or he's just never found it or it doesn't exist. But to this point, there's nothing, you know, so. Because boy, if there was, oh my God, would I want a copy of that? And I'd probably cling to it like it was, you know, my own heart. You know, like I'm taking care of this, and like I'd probably take better care of it than my own heart, because it's so valuable.
I mean, and it's tough. You know, parent-child, adult-child relationships are never easy.
Yeah.
If you have an easy one with your parent, kudos to you. I mean, I am so happy for you. And I'm not saying that sarcastic, even though it may sound sarcastic.
Yeah, it's not.
I really mean, I'm really, really happy for you. But for the majority of people, you know, it is not.
There's a complicated point to it. And it also kind of depends on where you are in the spectrum, right? Because when we're younger, they take care of us. Then you hit a point where everybody kind of exists on their own. Then a lot of times it shifts the other way to where now we need to take care of them. So that can make a big difference in there too, you know, is where you're at in the spectrum, in that range. Yeah.
And, but you know, what I found works best for me is because my father, as much as I love him, can be a cantankerous old coot and he can drive me kind of crazy.
I was fortunate in that regard. My dad was not. Him and I did get along really well. Like there was never really any point with him that I didn't. I mean, you know, of course we disagreed at times and stuff, and you know, he'd give me advice, and because I was young and knew everything, I would throw it right out the window and then realize he was right all along, you know.
And that's the thing. So, but just the other day we got into a fight, and he was, you know, his temper was up. And he was yelling, which there was no reason for him to be yelling. But, you know, I'm proud of myself because I set the boundary. Mm-hmm. I said, you need to stop yelling and actually talk to me, or I am going to leave.
Yeah.
And he didn't stop. So I said, okay, I love you, Dad. I am going to leave. And I did.
Yeah.
You know, and I knew, as we've talked about on the show many times, you can't control someone else.
Yeah.
You can't make them say or do or anything. They have to decide to do it on their own. What you can control is your reaction and your behaviors.
Yep.
In this particular circumstance and situation, I knew what I was getting upset, and I knew that if I stayed in this environment any longer, that it would not be healthy for me, nor him, nor our relationship. So I made the decision to remove myself from the situation so that I could get better perspective, and I can make sure that I don't say something that I would have to regret.
Yeah. Well, and again, you know, because you never know what, you know, you could, you know, say something really hurtful, walk out the door, and that could be the last thing you ever say to him.
Yes.
And do you want to risk that? That's why I like the fact that even though you were upset and things were contentious, you were like, I love you, but that way it's like, well, if something does happen, at least you said I love you, you know, At least you got that in there. And I cannot encourage that enough to people to not keep stuff to yourself. As one thing I made a conscious effort in my dad's last year was telling him, I love you. You know, I appreciate everything you've done for me, because I knew one of the times I told him it was going to be the last time, you know, and I'm so glad I did. That night that he ended up dying, I told him, you know, hey, I'm going to bed early. I love you. I'll see you tomorrow. And that was all true. I did see him the next day, but unfortunately he was no longer with us. But yeah, so.
But that was, that's a big move for me. And he ended up apologizing. He ended up talking to a few people, getting some perspective, and then texting me apology.
Like he talked to him. I'm just picturing him talking to some of them and just smacking him upside the head. You know, what are you doing? You know,
it was kind of funny because he called my husband, or he was texting with my husband. I think it was. They were texting a little bit back and forth, and kind of my husband kind of did give him a little bit of a slap above the head.
Good.
It's like, not cool, dude.
Yeah. And I mean, it's fair, you know, because that's true.
And my parents have been divorced for 35 years. Well, going 35 years.
Jeez.
At least.
Yeah.
They've been divorced. And my dad actually called my mom.
Which it still blows my mind. Every time, backstory on this is there was a long time where her parents didn't really, I don't know that it was like animosity, but they did not really talk. Unless they were around each other, they were civil. You know?
Yeah, that's about it. And
so
even
when you
now,
tell me that now, yeah, I know,
Hmm?
but it's still you saying that. It hits my ear, and I'm like, that what?
It's weird,
Yeah.
but
Because again, talking about how long, like me and Jen have known each other for, God, what 20? We met in like 93 or so. You know, so long time.
We're pushing like,
and we've known each other's parents that whole time too, because we, you know, like I went to your house and whatever, and you've met my parents, you know, back in those times. So literally, whether or not we were in a relationship, we've known each other's families forever, basically.
Oh yeah, so we've known each other for at least 25 years.
Yeah,
at least.
Yep.
But it's a long time.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you know, we've been in each other's lives and have experienced each other's families forever. And yeah, my stepdad, my mom remarried, and my stepdad and my dad had a very strong dislike of each other. And there was some legality battles, and it was not the easiest of divorces. It was not the easiest of custodies and things like that.
Sure.
So the fact that now he kind of reached out to her, which surprised me, when they only reach out to each other really when it comes to my brother or I, which makes sense.
But even still, the fact that they do is that's still a big step, because for years they didn't.
Yeah.
You know,
So
since
it
you
was really
guys have
kind of
been adults.
like a co-parenting moment and stuff. And some mom, you know, she didn't want to get involved, of course. She doesn't want to get in the middle of anything, but she did give him a few little pointers of advice, you know, to whatever, you know, to kind of make whatever happens.
Yeah.
And we're in a good spot. Like I took my dad out to dinner tonight. My husband and I took him out for dinner and had, you know, a very nice time. Just, you know, we have a list of topics we're not allowed to talk about.
Right.
Keeps getting longer, but
yeah, unfortunately that happens. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know what I realized last night? And I'm not trying to like keep bringing the show down, but I realized last night, because I was looking for a picture to, you know, put up on Instagram, because it's like I feel like I put the same picture up like every year basically, or like one of 3. And I was looking because it's one of my dad. It was when I was, I don't know how old I was, but I was young in the picture. And you know, it was because I was like, you know, I should put one up of me and him, you know, with me as an adult. And I was going, I don't know how many pictures I have.
Talk to your mom. Graduation.
No. But still, I'm talking like more toward the end.
Oh, gotcha.
Like when I was like 25 or whatever.
That time.
No, and even before like he got sick, even those times, like I don't think we really took many pictures together. Like I don't have that many of him even from that time. And of them, I don't know if him and I, there might be 1 or 2. I feel like there was probably one after my brother's first kid was born.
Mm-hmm.
I think we all were in a picture or something, but I don't know if I have that. David probably does though. But it was still one of those things where it's like, I don't like having my picture taken, but it is one of those times where, you know, you do look back and go, geez, I wish we had taken a couple more, you know, cause now you look at it and go, geez, you know, it's like there aren't, you know, I've got a decent amount of pictures of him, but more of them are probably not toward the last 5-10 years of his life. You know, most of them are before that, which, you know, he had various health issues. So that's, I'm sure, part of the reason.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still, you know, it kind of sucks. So again, let me impart knowledge to those who don't have my situation, is make sure you get some pictures with, you know, it doesn't have to be like 1,000 of them, but, you know, maybe grab one at, you know, once a year or something or whatever. So at least you have a few.
Absolutely.
And if you have kids, get a picture of them with those people in your life. That way, if something does happen to them, you can say, hey, here's a picture of you and grandpa or whatever. So, you know.
And encourage them not to make faces, because they're not used to doing selfies. So they have a tendency to make faces.
Yeah.
Just let me know.
Yeah. See, that wouldn't bother me. Like, if my dad was just making faces, I'd actually, that would be appropriate, because that's, you know.
That was your dad.
Yeah. I mean, I still have all the memories and everything, but it just kind of stinks to not have more photos of him, you know. It'd just be kind of cool to have. But
I will never forget his Congo.
Yeah.
His conga line that he did.
Yep.
Never forget that moment.
Yeah, and you know, another thing is, you know, if we all have microphones on our phones now, you know, at some point, get them to say "I love you" or something to that effect, and record that. That way, you can have that for like as long as you basically have access to it. Because again, I know people who've, you know, after a parent's died, they've kept some message on their phone that isn't in, you know, like, hey, when you come over, can you pick up some, you know, some like fried chicken, you know, or something like that. And it's like, that still means it's priceless, even though it's a nonsensical, you know, it's not an I love you or I'm proud of you or any of those kind of things, but it's still like, you can still listen and whatever. Anyway, moving off of that.
Yeah.
So I finally did I've been doing, like, when we do interview things for Salty Language, I keep using the, like, Salty Language, like, base logo, and it bugs me because we call that show The Enthusiasts. So I want it to have a little of its own identity, but still kind of feel, you know, like it's in our universe kind of a thing. And I finally did up a thing the other night with a new typeface. And, you know, where I have a spot now in the template to drop a picture of the person in there, and, you know, and it's still got our website and Twitter handle at the bottom and whatever. So, you know, I took the time, I went through it, picked out a font that I liked and all this. And it's funny because, again, it's so funny because when I was in college, when I was doing my design work, layering was the thing, right? That was like the, postmodern design was like, it was layers and using different typefaces and kind of things all over the place. And I totally dug a lot of that stuff. But I also found that what I like to do a lot of times was when I design is like, I want a real clean design, but I want the typeface to be cool. I want the typeface to basically, like, if you wore a suit and a cool pair of shoes, that's what I want it to be like, right? Like, you know, the shoe has a color in it or something that pops, or your pocket square or something like that, even though you're wearing a pretty conservative, here's a, you know, a black suit or a blue suit or whatever. You know, that kind of thing. So, but when I found, it's like, I looked at it and I was like, God, it's like, this just looks so basic. Like, to me, I like the typeface, but it's like, because I just used for our Salty Language thing, it's just an old typeface called Cooper Black. And it's like a typeface that I think it feels like a typeface from the 70s. And the new one, I forgot the name of it, but it's, you know, but I liked it, so I did that, and, you know, whatever. And I sent it off to Tony and was like, hey, what do you think? And he's like, I dig it. He's like, you know, I think it looks fine. And I was like, okay, cool, you know. But it was so funny how I can't help but, like, not even pick it apart, but, like, look at it and going, like, I should do more. I should do, and it's like, no, you should, it's fine.
Criticize yourself.
Yeah, it's like, it's fine. It does what it's supposed to do. Really and truly, when you look at it, you focus, you see the picture, and I have the, you know, her name on because it was for this one we're going to be releasing, and it's got the woman's name, on it, it says, the enthusiast with guests, blah, blah, blah. Up in the corner, I put the number of the episode. And so it's still design-wise, and it's left justified. Well, part of the type is left justified, and I did that so that it still has elements of the Salty Language title thing, the album art, if you will, that I use. So it, like I said, I wanted it to feel like it belonged in that universe, even though, it's like the child of the original. It's like, okay, it's got a little of its own style, but it's very reminiscent of the original. So, but that was pretty cool. I was happy with that, and that'll be showing up. If you follow Salty Language, it'll be showing up in timelines hopefully this week. Hopefully my headaches will subside, and that's because the weather's been kicking my butt. So, in fact,
it's the storm here too.
I was just going to say, in fact, as we're recording tonight, we have like a thunderstorm sitting on us. Basically, I don't think it's quite started yet, but it's starting soon. And I can feel it. Like, I can feel pressure in my face building as we've been talking. And I don't know, I might sound different from the beginning to the end of this episode because my sinuses may plug. But anyways, so my win for the week, I actually designed something. So,
yay!
Yeah. And anytime I design something, that's not just the win for the week. That's like my win for the month, because I've done so little design work that anytime I do any of it, I'm taking that as a huge W.
Yeah, for sure.
So, and then the last thing I want to talk about here was, it's interesting how we've talked about distorted thinking, I don't know, on like 99% of these episodes.
Right. Because
it really is at the root of a lot of mental, like anxiety, depression, and a lot of others as well that have those elements in them too. Alcoholism, addiction, all that kind of stuff, bipolar, we all have, all three of us, the hosts, have our elements of distorted thinking, and they affect pretty much everyone,
Yeah.
And boy, did I saw it unfold right in front of me, and it's weird now, because for a while now, I can see it coming because I focused on it so much when I first learned about it that I see it all the time in people. Now, again, restraint is a very good thing when it comes to this. You don't need to constantly be yelling at people, distorted thinking, even though it's the truth. You don't want to be that person. But it's interesting when it falls right in your lap and you're just like, oh, they can't see it. Like, and I'm not going to be able to help them see it. It's so hard. It's literally like if you've ever seen like a car accident just about to happen and you're like, there's nothing you can do except just watch it unfold, basically, or cover your eyes. And it was rough, it was rough to go through, and it affected me, and it was rough for the person involved and stuff. But, things sorted themselves out. Things got back to how they should be. But it was just such a surreal moment that, like I said, it really felt like almost like if you were going through something and you could literally kind of step outside of it and go, oh, that's no good. Like it really was.
It's like watching a movie.
It was.
Being in the audience of the movie and watching the movie going, don't go in that door.
Yes.
Don't go in that door.
Oh, she went in the door. Yeah, exactly. It's like, what are you doing? No, don't split up.
Yeah.
Don't take a shower. You're too sexy for a shower in a horror movie. What are you doing?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, it sucks. It sucks too, because things, when people come at things from that angle, a lot of times things are said that is not 100% them, and you're like, oh, it's like, and then there's also oh, that was me. Like, that was me years ago. I was doing that. I still do, because again, everybody deals with distorted thinking at some point. Maybe not all the time, maybe not as much, but we all deal with it. So, luckily, like I said, it resolved itself, but it was still just, it's so weird when you and not to mention see it coming, but also understand that it's coming and that you can't stop it. it's gonna happen no matter what. I feel like it's like Dr. Manhattan and Watchmen, because people are like, well, why didn't you stop it? And he's like, it's already happening, because he's in the future as well as in the present. So he's like, it's already happening. And that's kind of what you feel like a little bit, is you're like, oh, I know how this turns out and it isn't good, like, but I can't do a thing, going back to like my dad giving me advice. I'm sure that was the same thing, right? Because even in a different twist on that, my distorted thinking was I knew better. And he's sitting there going, oh, he's gonna fall right in his face. Like, well, I'll be there for him, but this isn't gonna be fun.
It's a messy one.
Yeah, so I encourage, once again, as always, I encourage anybody to look up cognitive distortion and distorted thinking and look at them and try to, don't obsess on it. Don't that kind of thing. So if you're the type that might obsess on it, maybe don't talk more, maybe talk about it with a therapist or something. But I think it's good to look at, because you can also see it in others. And sometimes it gives you a really good understanding of where someone's coming from. Because if someone is a certain way and they're always that way, and then the next time you talk to them, they're coming at you a different way, and you're like, wait a minute, like, I know I didn't do anything, or even if you did, it's like, this isn't how they normally react. What's going on here, So, yeah. That way maybe you can have a little more empathy for what someone might be going through, or, hey, what's going on? Be more understanding and be able to kind of maybe help diffuse the situation or make the car wreck a little worse. Or better. I did not mean worse.
Right.
Better. Worse. I mean, I guess really you could make it worse too. If you don't choose your words carefully.
Option.
Yeah. So, yeah. So I think that's what I got for the week, and we're over an hour, so.
That's what I was looking at. I'm like, huh.
Yeah. Also, it is pouring now.
Yeah, I'm sitting front of my window, and it's like thunder, lightning, rain everywhere. So,
right. So I would like to get this saved. Yeah.
We should probably get this saved.
Yeah.
So, all right, folks. So we did quite a lot of catching up tonight, and if you would like to comment, question, we'd love to hear from you. Whatever you have to say. And, constructive criticism, all of the above, anything. Yeah. Just feel free to reach out to us. You can reach us at thecrazylifepodcast.weebly.com is our website. crazylifepodcast@outlook.com is our email address. If you'd like to reach me, you can reach me on the Twitters at Jen's Crazy Life. That's Jen with a G. And also on Instagram at Jen's Crazy Life, Jen with a G. And Brian, how can they reach you?
I'm just picturing one of these times. Like, you make sure if there was somebody who took what you say literally there. And they're like, Jen's Crazy Life, Jen with a G. Yeah, you can find this show on Twitter at The Crazy Life Pod, where I post when new episodes go up. But you should have already subscribed by now, so you don't need that information. If you want to follow Henno, you can find him at Ida Henno on Twitter. Henno Heiter on Facebook. I don't remember if he's under that on Instagram or not. Anyway, his links are in the show notes, and if you find him on Twitter or Facebook, he can give you his Instagram handle if you want it. Yeah, so you can find me at Stunami on Twitter and Instagram. You can find my other podcast at salty_language or at saltylanguage.com. Show is not safe for work. It's just me and my best friend yammering on about, video games, weird trends. Like we talked about the mustard on watermelon TikTok trend and old video games. That's the reaction we had too. So, if you're into that, please check us out. Again, not safe for work. Henno's other podcast can be found at MTN Pod on Twitter, and it's called Moving the Needle, where they do... I don't remember what their last one was. I know recently they watched The Sting, the old Robert Redford movie. And a lot of times they'll compare movies or watch, movies, or they talk about music or whatever. It's, good listen. So go check that out. And yeah, we're part of the Tangent Bound Network, which can be found at tangentboundnetwork.com. my page didn't load with the links, so I'm like the whole time here. Anyway, if you need help, please reach out and check on your friends also and make sure they're doing okay. Even though things are kind of opening up and people are kind of getting back to normal, there's still a lot of apprehension and languishing that's going on. So people might still not be quite okay. So, check in on them and see how they're doing. And of course, as always, please be nice to one another. Please practice kindness and, help somebody out when you can.
All right. With that, go out there, hug your loved ones, tell them you love them, and especially your dads today of all days. And, have the best week you possibly can. And don't forget, wiggle those toes.